Hello everyone, I am Dr. Bindu Malviya, Professor, Tirthankar Mahavir University, Muradabad. Students, I welcome you all to this today's session on export-oriented units. So today we will be discussing on what is the meaning of export-oriented units, what are its objectives. We will also see various examples and we will see what are the benefits which are received by the export-oriented units and the major challenges which are faced by these export-oriented units. So, what is an export-oriented unit? Export-oriented units are those units which undertake to export their entire production of goods and services except permissible sales in domestic tariff areas, that is DTA, as specified in the foreign trade policy. What are the major objectives of export-oriented units? It includes the promotion of the exports, enhance foreign exchange earnings, technological and advancements. It attracts foreign investments, generate employment opportunities in the nation. It also helps in the regional development, integration with the global supply chains, simplified procedures, and the financial incentives. So let us discuss each and every objective one by one. So these are under the scheme of export-oriented units. It aims at promoting exports and increasing the foreign exchange earnings. First, let us see the major objective, that is the promotion of the exports. So, with the help of this export-oriented units, there is an encouragement for the export activities by providing various incentives and facilities to the units that undertake to export their entire production of goods and services. Then the next objective is the foreign exchange earnings. So by focus by more promotion of the exports, it contributes to the foreign exchange reserves of the country, and this is, as you all know, it is very crucial for the economic stability and growth of the nation. Then it also contributes to the employment generation. It helps in creating job opportunities by setting up of manufacturing and service units that requires a skilled workforce. EOUs also involved in the use of advanced technology and modern manufacturing processes. Thereby, they contribute to the technological development of the country. Because of the adoption of the advanced technologies, because of the support, the EOUs are able to set up units in different regions, and by this they contribute to the balanced regional development and reduce the regional disparities. As far as the another objective, that is the integration with the global supply chains. So EOUs are integrated with the global supply chains, which helps the country to become competitive internationally. These schemes provides simplified custom procedures and fast-track clearances, which reduces the compliance burdens on the exporters. There are some financial incentives which benefits the EOUs from various financial incentives, such as the duty-free imports of raw materials, machinery, and other inputs, which leads to reduction of the cost of the production, and it enhances the competitiveness. So let us see some examples from various sectors such as information technology, pharmaceutical industries, some examples from automobile industries, textile industries, and many more. So these companies includes the Infosys Limited, TCS, Sun Pharmaceutical Industries, Dr. Reddy's Laboratories. Then there is Flextronics Technologies India Limited. Then there is Samsung India Electronics Private Limited, Hyundai Motors India Limited, Shahi Exports Private Limited, Arvind Limited, Bharat Forge Limited. There is Gitanjali Gems Limited, Rajesh Exports Limited, Alanazans Private Limited, Amul Dairy. So these are very renowned, very well-known companies, very well-known export-oriented units. So let us see the details about all these EOUs. So first, let us take the textile and garment industries. Under this, the major players are the Shahi Exports Private Limited and Arvind Limited. So Shahi Exports Private Limited is the India's largest apparel manufacturers and exporters, and it deals in high quality garments for leading international brands. So this company is getting the benefits such as tax holidays, duty-free import of fabrics and machinery, and zero rating under the GST. The another example is the Arvind Limited. You all must be knowing Arvind Limited company. So it is into the products such as denim, woven fabrics, garments, and it is the major player in textiles and known for its denim and cotton fabrics. So this company, because of the status of EOU, is assessing to duty-free imports, income tax benefits, and incentives for employing a large workforce. Some examples from IT include Infosys Limited, Tata Consultancy Services. So you all know about Infosys, that it is the global leader in IT services and consulting. Its products includes software development, IT consulting, and business process outsourcing. So under this scheme, the company is benefited by way of tax exemptions on export profits, duty-free import of IT equipments, and refunds under the goods and services tax. Another is the Tata Consultancy Services, which is one of the largest IT services company globally. So it is into the IT services, consultancy, and business solutions. So this company enjoys income tax holidays, zero rated exports under GST, and duty-free import of capital goods under the EOU scheme. Let us take some examples from pharmaceutical industries. The industries includes major players, that is Sun Pharmaceutical Industries Limited, Dr. Reddy's Laboratories. So Sun Pharmaceutical Industries is the leading pharmaceutical company with a significant export market. So it manufactures generic drugs, active pharmaceutical ingredients, that is APIs, and it is enjoying the benefits such as tax holidays on export profits, duty-free import of raw materials and equipments, and also GST refunds. The another very big player, that is the Reddy's Laboratories, which is an integrated pharmaceutical company with a global presence. So it manufactures products such as active pharmaceutical ingredients, that is APIs, generic drugs, and biosimilars. So this company is benefited from the tax concessions, duty-free imports, and fiscal incentives for research and development. A few examples from electronics and hardware sector. So under this sector, the company Flextronics Technologies India Private Limited and Samsung India Electronics Private Limited are benefited under the EOU scheme. So Flextronics Limited is a leading electronics manufacturing services provider. It deals into the products such as electronic components, assemblies, and products for various industries. The benefits which is enjoyed by this company includes duty-free import for components and machinery, tax exemptions on export profits, and the incentives for the technology transfers. The company Samsung India Electronics Private Limited is a subsidiary of Samsung Electronics, focusing majorly on the manufacturing and exporting electronic goods. So the major products includes consumer electronics, mobile phones, and home appliances. So this company enjoys custom duty exemptions, income tax benefits on exports profits, and goods and service tax refunds. Under the automobiles and auto component sector, there is Hyundai Motor India Limited, Bharat Forge Limited. So Hyundai Motor Limited is an automobile manufacturing company which is very significant in export operations. So the major products includes passenger cars, SUVs, and commercial vehicles. So this particular company enjoys tax holidays, duty-free imports of machinery and components, and goods and service tax incentives. As far as Bharat Forge Limited is concerned, you all know that it is a global leader in forging and a major exporter of auto components. So it deals into forged and machined components for the automobiles and industrial sector. The major benefits which it avails includes the duty-free imports, tax benefits on export income, and physical incentives for the research and development. Another sector includes gems and jewelry. The major export-oriented units which are enjoying the benefit includes Gitanjali Gem Limited and Rajesh Exports Limited. So Gitanjali Gems Limited is a prominent player in the gems and jewelry industry, which is very popularly known for its export operations. So this company deals in diamonds, gold jewelry, and other precious stones. This particular company is enjoying the duty-free imports of raw materials, tax-free on export profits, and GST refunds. Another example, that is the Rajesh Exports Limited, which is a largest manufacturer of exporters of gold jewelry. So the main products includes gold and diamond jewelry, and this particular company enjoys fiscal benefits, duty-free imports, and tax holidays on export income. A few examples from agriculture and food processing. The very big player, that is Amul Dairy. Most of us are using the products in our day-to-day life by produced by this particular company. So it is a cooperative dairy company which is significant in export of dairy products. Its products includes milk, cheese, butter, and other dairy products. So this company is getting tax exemptions, duty-free import of processing equipment, and GST incentives. The another company, Alanescence Private Limited, is a leading exporter of focused foods and agro products. So it deals in frozen meat and processed foods as well as agro commodities. The major benefits enjoyed includes the tax holidays, duty-free imports of machinery, and fiscal incentives for food processing. So now we will see what are the benefits, tax benefits, what are the fiscal concessions, what are the benefits which are enjoyed by the EOUs, as these EOU play a significant role in boosting exports and economic growth of India. So the fiscal and tax concessions provided to the EOUs are designed to enhance their competitiveness in global market and to attract more and more foreign investment and generate employment in the country. So these are the benefits, these are the fiscal and tax concessions which are received by the EOUs, which include income tax concessions, custom duty concessions, central excise duty concessions, goods and service tax benefits, sale in domestic tariff areas, that is DTAs. These are the zones which are exempted by the SEZ, and the other concessions includes deemed exports, external commercial borrowings, and it also gets benefits from the banking and financial institutions, and some administrative benefits also. So let us discuss one by one each fiscal and tax concession as mentioned here. So the first one is the income tax concessions. So under this particular benefit, the EOUs enjoy tax holidays, that is under section 10B of the Income Tax Act. So for this particular benefit, the eligibility of the EOU must be fulfilled. So the EOUs, only those EOUs are eligible for the deduction of 100% of profits and gains derived from the exports for 10 consecutive assessment years. So the deduction is available for the first 10 years beginning from the year in which the unit started manufacturing or its production. So the major condition is that the EOUs must be involved in manufacturing and producing articles, things, or computer software to qualify for this kind of deduction. The another benefit which is received under the tax benefit includes carry forward of losses. So the EOUs can forward unabsorbed depreciation to subsequent years even after the tax holidays period is over under the unabsorbed depreciation. There is another point is that the loss carry forward. So business losses incurred during the tax holiday period can also be carried forward and set off against the profits in subsequent years. Now the next is the custom duty concessions. So what is the benefit which is received under this particular scheme by the EOUs includes a duty-free import. That is in case of capital goods, the EOUs can import capital goods without paying any custom duty, which includes the machinery, equipments, and other tangible assets. Another is the raw materials. In case of raw materials, also they can import raw materials, components, consumables, and spares without paying any custom duty. Then another benefit under this includes the second-hand capital goods. So there is no age restrictions on the import of second-hand capital goods for the EOUs, which facilitating in cost-effective acquisition of the machinery. So these are the benefits under the custom duty concession, which is enjoyed by the EOUs. Then they also enjoy the central excise duty concessions, which include exemption on the domestic purchases. So EOUs are exempted from the paying the central excises duty on the goods which are procured domestically, and it includes the raw materials, packaging materials, and consumables. The benefit which is enjoyed in terms of the goods and services tax includes the zero rating of exports and refunds. So supplies made by the EOUs are treated as zero rated under the GST, which means that the supply itself is not taxed, but input tax credit on inputs and input services used to make the supply is refundable. EOUs can also claim the refunds of the input tax credit, which helps them in maintaining the liquidity and reducing the cost burden on the EOUs. Then another next benefit which they enjoy includes the sales in the domestic tariff area, that is DTA. So DTA sales entitlement is enjoyed, that is permissible sales. The EOUs can sell up to 50% of their FOB value of exports in the domestic tariff areas. Then the domestic tariff area sales are subject to applicable duties and equivalent to the customs duties on the imported goods. So this is the benefit again which can be enjoyed by the EOUs. In addition to the benefits which we discussed, they enjoy some fiscal concessions as well in the form of deemed exports, duty drawbacks. So what is a deemed export? So under this, the benefit to the supplier is granted. So supplies made to the EOUs are treated as deemed exports, making the supplier eligible for the benefits like refund of GST, or in other words known as the duty drawback. Another thing is the in the export units, that is the export incentives which is enjoyed by them. So export oriented units can claim duty drawbacks on the import duties paid on the import inputs which are used for manufacturing goods, and which is meant for the purpose of export and for further reducing the cost of the particular manufacturing of the goods. The benefit is also enjoyed on the capital goods, that is reinvestment of the capital gains. The capital gains derived from the sale of assets are also exempted from the tax if it is reinvested in new plant and machinery within a particular specified period of time. So the benefit is also given for the capital gains when there is reinvestment of the capital gains. They also enjoy the banking and financial support, which is extended by various financial institutions, by the commercial banks. There is a facility for external commercial borrowings, and they can access to the foreign funds. So EOUs are allowed to raise funds through the external commercial borrowings, facilitating the acquisition of the capital goods and other financial requirements at potentially lower interest rates compared to the domestic borrowings. They also enjoy some administrative and operational flexibilities. That is, they enjoy the single window clearance and the simplified procedures. So, under the single window clearance, many states offer single window clearance systems to simplify and expedite the process of setting up and operationalizing the export oriented units. So they get the streamlined approvals. Another is the benefit of simplified procedures. So the EOUs can enjoy self-certification for their export and import documents, reducing the administrative burden and expediting the export process. Then another is the inter-unit transfers. So the goods can be transferred between the export-oriented units without incurring the duty, facilitating them with the operational flexibility. Then another benefit enjoyed, that is called as the net foreign exchange benefits. Under this, the EOUs must achieve a positive net foreign exchange, meaning the FOB's value of exports must exceed the CIF value of imported inputs. So this NFE is calculated cumulatively over a period of 5 years from the commencement of the production, and when there is a positive NFE, so this particular benefit is being enjoyed by the EOUs. Compliance and regulatory framework also, some benefits which these EOUs enjoy includes the annual performance reports, then monitoring by the development commissioners. So the EOUs are supposed to submit the annual performance reports to the development commissioner and the jurisdictional customs authorities, detailing exports performance and other operational data. And under the development commissioner monitors their performance of the EOUs, and under which they must ensure the compliance with the policies and conditions and the operational guidelines which is meant for the EOUs. We have discussed the various benefits which are enjoyed by the EOUs, the tax benefits and the fiscal concessions and other kinds of supports and relaxations. So though there are benefits, but there are certain challenges also which is faced by the EOUs, and these challenges might impact their efficiency, competitiveness, and the overall performance of these EOUs. So the challenges, the challenging factors includes the regulatory and compliance factors, infrastructure, then financial and economic challenges, challenges related to market and the competition, operational challenges, then human resource challenges, challenges which are due to the technological advancements, and major some challenges related to the environmental and sustainability issues, and in some aspects the government support and the incentives. So let us discuss one by one each and every challenge of the EOUs in detail. So as far as the regulatory and compliance challenges is concerned, there is a complex regulation which is a challenge for the EOUs, and the policies, the regulations which requires constant updates and adaptations, and due to the complexity of the state, local, and the central regulations, it becomes quite challenging. Here I would like to quote an example of an EOU that is a pharmaceutical EOU which is located in Hyderabad. So it has to comply with the regulations from the Ministry of Commerce, DGFT, and India FDA, that is CDSO, and certain other environmental regulations from the State Pollution Control Board. So frequently they have to be very vigilant, and frequently it has to update in the policies, such as the changes in the drug export regulations, and all this requires constant monitoring and adaptation, which is a regulatory and compliance challenge for the EOU. Another regulatory challenge includes the licensing and approvals. So obtaining the licenses, approvals from the various government bodies, from various departments, is a very time consuming process, and it is a very complex process. So all these leads to the delay in the approvals, and this can impact the production and shipment schedules. So an example is the textile EOU, which is in Surat. So this particular industry may face the challenges of clearances, including the approval from the Textile Committee, Pollution Control Board, and the fire departments. So all this will impact on the production, the operational activities, which will lead to delay in the obtaining these approvals, and result in missing the seasonal export windows, and impacting the revenue of the EOU. Another important challenge is related to the infrastructure. So due to the lack of infrastructure, inadequate infrastructure, that is lack of transport networks, reliable power supply, advancement in the logistics facilities, all these can affect the operations. So poor infrastructure increases up, and all this can lead to the increase in the operational cost, and reduces the efficiency of the EOU. So here an example is taken from a remote part of Odisha EOU, which is involved in producing handicraft, which might face some issues related to unreliable power supply, which may lead to the frequent production stoppages, and also due to the poor road infrastructure, which can lead to increased transportation cost and delay in the shipment to the ports. So another example, like an EOU which is located in a remote area of Africa might face some infrastructural issues and face some issues such as unreliable electricity supply, leading to the production halts. So under these infrastructural challenges, some issue may be related to the port congestion. So congestion at the port, which can lead to the delay in the shipment of the goods, or there may be problem of inefficient custom clearance process at the ports, so which can further exacerbate the delay. So an example here we can take is the EOU, which is based in Tamil Nadu, which is exporting automotive components through Chennai port, which often experiences delay due to the congestion. So this leads to the increased cost due to demurrage charges and missed deadlines for international deliveries. So EOU in India often faces this kind of port congestion problem, and which leads to delay in the shipment. The next is the financial and economic challenges. So students, this is also a very important challenges which is faced by the EOUs. So this is a challenge which is due to the difficulty in accessing affordable financing options for working capital and expansion. Then due to the high interest rate and stringent lending criteria that can limit the ability to the finance operations, and it can also affect the expansion and the other things of the organization. So the example include an Indian example, and I have also included one international example. So a small scale EOU in Rajasthan producing marble sculptures may find it difficult to secure affordable loans from the banks, limiting its ability to purchase raw materials in bulk, or invest in the better machinery to scale operations. So this particular issue related to finance is challenging for the particular EOU. Then another is the a small scale EOU producing handcrafted goods in Vietnam might struggle to get the loan due to the lack of collaterals and high rate of interest, which again limits its ability to scale operations or manage the cash flows effectively. So the financial and economic challenges must be tackled properly by the EOUs to overcome the challenges. So the another thing is the foreign exchange fluctuations. So there is a lot of fluctuation in the foreign exchange rates. There is a volatility in the foreign exchange rates. So all this can impact the profitability of the export transactions. So managing currency risk requires the financial instruments and strategies. So the company has to look into this particular aspect also. So for example, an EOU in Kerala, which is exporting spices, face the challenge and it finds that the profits are fluctuating due to the changes in the exchange rates between Indian rupee and the US dollar, and the sudden depreciation of the rupee can make imports of packaging material more expensive, while appreciation will reduce export competitiveness. So this is how the volatility in the foreign exchange rates affect the profits of the EOUs. Another example from Brazil, that is an exporter oriented unit in Brazil exporting coffee, might see its profit eroded due to the volatility of the Brazilian real against and the US dollar, making it difficult to price the products competitively in the international market or in the global market. Another major challenge which is posed by the market and the competition. So we all know that the market is very uncertain. The consumer choice preferences keeps on changing, and lot of competitors are there in the market, which again poses a big challenge on the EOUs. So due to the intense competition from the other countries with lower production cost can affect the market share, and so this aspect needs continuous innovation and improvement in the product quality to remain competitive in the market. So an example here is an EOU in Punjab, which is exporting cotton textiles, faces a stiff competition from Bangladesh and Vietnam, which often offers lower prices due to the lower labor and other manufacturing costs for efficient production techniques. Another example from Bangladesh, which is producing ready-made garments, may face a stiff competition from countries like China and Vietnam, which may offer lower prices due to the more efficient production process and economies of scale in their country. Then with respect to the changing customer preferences or the consumer preferences, this is a factor which very frequently changes. So keeping up with the changing consumer preferences and trends in the international markets require agility and market intelligence. So to overcome these challenges, the EOUs must adapt products to meet the diversified international standards and preferences of the consumers. So here an example which I would like to share is there is an EOU in Karnataka which is producing traditional silk saris, so which may need adapt to the changing fashion trends and preferences in international markets, and which may demand for significant investment in the design and marketing to stay relevant in the market. Another example of EOU in Italy, which is producing traditional furnitures which need to adapt to the growing demand for eco-friendly and modern designs, which requires again a significant investment in new materials and new production techniques in order to overcome this particular challenge. With respect to the operational challenges, so these EOUs are also facing challenges relating to the logistics, relating to the supply chain management. So managing the global supply chain, it is a very complex process which involves coordination with the multiple suppliers, logistics providers, and the customers. So any disruptions in the supply chain, such as delays, shortages, can impact production and delivery schedules of the EOUs. So like here, an example of an EOU in Gujarat manufacturing chemical product for export might face a challenge of disruptions due to the delays in the supply of raw materials from overseas suppliers. So such delays can affect the production schedules and timely deliveries to the customers, which again can impact the efficiency of the EOUs. Aspects including the quality control. So maintaining quality, maintaining consistent quality guidelines, quality standards to meet the international benchmarks is also very critical to the EOUs. So quality issues can always lead to the returns, reputational damages, and financial losses. So let us take an example of an EOU in Maharashtra, which is exporting organic food products which maintain high quality standards to meet the international benchmarks, such as those from the FDA in US and EFSA in Europe. So if there is any lapse in the quality control, then it may lead to product recalls, rejections, and loss of the customer trust. Another is an international example of China, which is exporting electronic goods, must maintain high quality standards to meet the stringent safety and performance regulations of the market, like the European Union and the United States. So if there is any quality gap, if there is any quality lapse, if there is non-conformance, then it may lead to the product recalls and damage the brand reputation of the country. So few challenges are also related to the human resources with respect to the skilled workforce. So there is a quite difficulty in finding and retaining the skilled labor to meet the specialized need of export oriented production. So there is a continuous need of training and development programs to keep these workforce updated with the latest technologies and the practices. So example here I would like to discuss is an EOU which is based in Bangalore, and it produces high-tech electronics, might face a struggle to find skilled labor and retain skilled engineers and technicians, which would impact its stability to innovate and produce cutting-edge products. Another example from Kenya, which is producing high-tech agricultural equipments, which may find problem with respect to the recruitment and retention of the high-skilled engineers and technicians, and this may impact its ability to produce cutting-edge products. Some issues related to the labor laws also. There may be issues related to compliance with the labor laws and regulations in the export countries, and this may be challenging, especially when the EOU is operating in the multiple regions. So there may be issues related to the labor disputes and the industrial actions. So all these may lead to the disrupt production and affect the production or the operational efficiency. So an example of EOU in Tamil Nadu has to comply with the complex labor laws and regulations, including those related to the minimum wages, working conditions, and safety standards, non-compliance. All these need to be followed, and in case of non-compliance, uh, uh, it may lead to the legal disputes and production stoppages due to the labor strikes and backouts. So another example from South Africa. So an EOU in South Africa must navigate complex labor laws and regulations, such as those which are related to the minimum wages, working conditions, etc. So if there is any non-compliance, then the company may face the challenge of legal disputes and production stoppages. So this is also a very important factor to be considered here, that is the challenge of technological advancement. So the companies are required to be abreast with the technological advancement. They should update themselves to meet the needs of rapid technological advancement in case of the manufacturing and logistics. So this can be a challenge due to the high cost associated with the adoption and integration of new technologies. So the example includes an EOU in Andhra Pradesh producing ceramics might struggle to adopt advanced manufacturing technologies such as 3D printing due to the high costs and lack of technological expertise affecting its competitiveness in the global market. So an EOU, another example from international country, that is the EOU in the Indonesia, which is producing textiles, might struggle to adopt advanced manufacturing technologies such as automation and AI due to the high cost and lack of the technical expertise affecting the competitiveness of the EOU. So nowadays, the IT companies and other companies are also facing the problem of data protection issues related to the cyber security. So protecting the sensitive business and customer data from the cyber threat and ensuring robust cyber security measures is also a great challenge to prevent the data from the breaches and the cyber attacks. So an example of an EOU in Pune, which is handling sensitive customer data, must invest in robust cyber security measures to protect against the cyber threats. There may be a challenge related to the data breach, which can lead to the financial losses and damage to the reputation of the company. Similarly, an EOU in Philippines might also face a challenge in handling the sensitive customers' data, which the company may require more and more investment in the robust cyber security measures to protect the data, to protect the customer data and business sensitive data from the cyber threats. Issues related to the environmental sustainability. So nowadays there are a lot of environmental issues, environmental challenges at not only at the national level but also at the global level. So to address to this particular issue, there are environmental regulations which the EOUs need to comply, which are quite stringent, and the standards in the different countries are also need to be followed, where the EOUs operating in different or in multiple countries. So managing the waste and emissions must be taken care to minimize the environmental impact. So an example we can take here is there is an EOU in West Bengal which is producing leather goods must comply with the strict environmental regulations to manage effluents and emissions, and in case of non-compliances, the company may face the penalties and restrictions on the operations. So another example from EOU based in Malaysia, producing palm oil must comply with strict environmental regulations in order to reduce the deforestation and carbon emissions. So in case of non-compliance, there may be sanctions and loss of market access to the environmentally conscious regions like the European Union. So all these environmental regulations the company must comply with in order to avoid the consequences of non-compliance. The companies, the EOUs must always go for the sustainability practices in their production and supply chain management. So a need of balanced sustainability goals with cost and operational efficiency need to be focused. So I would like to quote an example of EOU in Himachal Pradesh, which is manufacturing packaging materials, may lead to invest in the sustainable production practices, and the material should meet the growing demand for eco-friendly products, balancing the cost efficiency with the sustainability goals. So now we will see the challenge which is due to the lack of government support and incentives. So due to the inadequate support, insufficient government support in terms of the subsidies, tax incentives, and the export promotion schemes, due to the lack of effective trade agreements and bilateral, multilateral trade deals to facilitate exports, the EOUs might lead to some problems. So for example, an EOU in Uttar Pradesh might find the limited government support in terms of export subsidies or the tax incentives as compared to the competitors in other countries. So this may make it difficult to compete globally. A Mexico-based EOU might find limited government support in terms of export subsidies and tax incentives, which again render it to a difficulty to compete with the companies in the countries where the EOUs are enjoying support from the government and other agencies. Then it is also found that due to the policy uncertainty, due to the uncertain policies of the government regarding the exports, which can also create a challenge, and it can create a challenging business environment which is beyond the control of the EOUs. So due to the sudden changes in the trade policies and tariff can disrupt planning and the operational activities. So an example here would be an EOU in Maharashtra which faces uncertainty due to the changing trade policies and tariffs. So this sudden change in the export tariffs or import duties on the raw materials can disrupt the planning and operations, affecting the profitability of the EOU. So another example is the EOU, which is based in UK, might face uncertainty due to the changing trade policies after the, or you can say the post-Brexit, which affect long-term planning and investment decisions. So sudden changes in the tariff and trade agreements due to the post-Brexit can disrupt the existing business operations. So we have seen the objectives, we have seen the various concessions, the various fiscal and tax concessions which are offered by the offered to the EOUs, and the benefits which are enjoyed by the EOUs. We have seen various examples. So all these, and we have also discussed the various challenges. So to sum up with, I would like to say that the EOUs enhance the global competitiveness of Indian exports, and they boost economic growth and ensure the sustainable development of the nation. So the illustrations and demonstrations and the examples which we have seen demonstrates the diversity of the industries and benefit from the EOU scheme in India. So by availing various fiscal and tax concessions, these units can enhance their competitiveness in global market and contribute to the foreign exchange earnings, and at the same time promote employment and lead to economic growth within the country. So addressing the challenges will require a multifaceted approach, including policy reforms, investment in infrastructure, technological upgradation, and skill development, and also there is a need for strategic market intelligence. So this is all for today from my side. Thank you very much and have a nice day.